here's my shims. They're just rubber angled pieces, and they got a little ridge on there. And this one's got a ridge. So depending how much you need, you kind of put those together like that, and then you push them together, and they snap, click, 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 like that, and you'll have them in there. Okay. Now, the ones I've got, they got a little slot over here. See that little slot? I like to face that out. And see, when I put it in there like that, I can push that one in there and clip it in. And later on, when I get ready to pull those out, I just take a screwdriver, and I've got that slot there, and I can lift it out like that. You see? If it's pushed in there like that, I take that and lift it up. Take this side, lift that up. Pull that out and pull that. Because see, the other side doesn't have that. And what happens is, once I start snapping all this floor together, this is going to get tight. And sometimes it's hard to get those out. Now, this, it's hard to get out later if you don't have that slot. You're trying to pry that up without marking up the baseboard and that kind of thing. Okay? So look at your shims. They've got different styles, different brands. But just look at them and see which way you want to put those in. You don't have to try to hold it up and squeeze it down in there. Just put one in there like that, and then set this one there and push it together like that. And then you're going to measure that and see if it's okay. Now I'm going to look at this wall, and this wall is a little loop-de-loo, whoop-de-doo. It's like a fish. So I'm going to have to get a happy medium, because I don't want to make it 3/8 here and go down at the end and make it 3/8, because in the middle I might be a 1/2 inch away from the wall. So I'm going to have to kind of look at this and play with it a little bit and put my shims in. I went ahead and put these shims at the far right end, and so now I got to get this tight here. So look at my edges here. I'm going to put those down in there like that. And now, because I have the other side fixed, I just push this together as hard as I can. Hear that click? There. That's snug. And I've already checked it. I got 3/8 there to my finished edge. That means I got 5/16 from the end of that snap-on trim, you know, on the end of this board. I look at this, and I got a little over 3/8, and that's okay. My trim's going to cover that, and I'm good to go. Now I've got to look at this all the way along here and kind of shim that and figure out exactly where I'm going to start. That way I can start snapping all these full-length rows together. See right there, I don't have that much gap. And over here to the left, I've got just about what I need, if not just a hair more, and I've already got kind of a big gap there. So I can't just put a shim right there, because I got to keep this nicely pressed together, and I don't want to try to bow this out anymore than I have to. So I'm going to have to pull this side out to the left, just a hair, you know, and maybe the same there. And maybe have this really tight 5/16, and the rest of it may have to be a little bit over 3/8 or something like that. As long as I know my trim's going to cover it, I'll be okay. So make sure you look at your whole line and put in your shims where they need to go. This baseboard sets in just a little bit from this trim here, and I gotta make sure still that I'm away from that as much as I need. Now this side is almost flush, but it dives in. When I measure over to the right even further, I got almost a 1/2 inch, and when I measure over to the left further, I got a good 3/8, and then it dives over even further in the corner. Actually not the corner, but right in here I got a 1/2 inch, And then this pooches back up in the corner to 3/8. So I'm going to have to leave it like that because I don't want to get this any closer than where it is. Because when I measure that, I mean, I'm in between 1/4 inch and 5/16. So I don't want to make it, I don't want to push it against the wall any further than that. Okay, so now that I know that, I've got that shim in there okay. And I'll go ahead and put my other shims in. Got this. Just set them in there. And push it together without pushing this out. I didn't push this out because this has already kind of kept this nice and tight. So I know I'm okay there. And I'm going to end up putting one right here too, because after this one I'm going to do a 3/4 long piece, and then the next row is like a half or 1/3 long piece, because that's how you want to stagger them. So I'm going to be tapping pretty hard right in here, possibly, you know. So I've got plenty of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and put one in here too. And see, they overlap each other, and that's good. That way I can still fit it up in there. And I might as well check this again, make sure it's not moved at all. This is your last chance to kind of check this all out. Well, on this first row, I've got these shims over here. Well, here's the joint between the two pieces. Now, if you leave it just like this, when you get ready to snap this next one in and you tap it in, this one's going to move against the wall. It's just going to slide out of place. What I'm going to do on this first one is I'm just going to go ahead and put a shim right here. Whoops, make sure I flip it the right way, right? With the little slots facing the right direction here. I'm just going to put that in there. That way, as I'm tapping on here, it's going to keep this whole joint right here from this one either pushing in or that one pushing in or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to do that at the next seam too. So here's my seam here. I look at this and this is nice. Right there. It looks, actually, I pushed it too far. Needed to adjust that ever so slight. There. Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure that's good there. Okay. So I can put one right there, and then I can put one over on this side too. Boy, that's a big gap right there. Maybe I pushed it out too far from where it should have been, huh? You know what? I'm glad I'm measuring that, because this will give a little bit. See, when I did that, see how this moves? It moved away from my shim at the end. So I'll make sure this is nice and straight here. Right there. I'll have to make sure that side's pushed in tight at that end. Now I can put these shims in. Something wasn't looking right there. If I wouldn't have checked that out, I would have been way off at the other end, at the far right hand side. Okay, this first one's kind of tricky, only because it's this first row is kind of free floating. Once I start snapping them in, and as I'm putting them this way, this is just going to stay nice and tight. Okay, that looks good now. Yeah, that was pushed away from before. Now it looks good. I'm not going to take any chances with this first row. I got plenty of these little rubber shims. Just have to be careful when I put them in. I just want to make these snug. I don't want to try to push them too hard. The harder I push them, the more chance it's going to get to push the seam out or push this out. You got this big long area. Even though you got the joint snap, you can slightly bow this a little bit if you're not careful. Main thing we want is for this first row to be nice and straight. This is how your first long piece should look. See, I got a piece at the end, and those 4 pieces, one right up against the wall on the right hand side, and you see that other end? I got plenty right there and right where the seam is, and I'm looking here, and guess what we need to do there? We need to put another shim. Just make it snug. Not too tight on that one. Okay? That looks good. I think we're ready for the next row.